What is up, guys? This is Sam Talks About Games, and today I'm going to be talking about what I think is going to happen with Xenoblade. So, as we all know, or most of you know, Nintendo has trademarked Xenoblade, so they're going to use Xenoblade in the future for a new game, and that's been a little bit uncertain because Xenoblade 3 was the end of the Cloud Saga that was set up with Xenoblade 1, Future Connected, Xenoblade 2, Torna, Xenoblade 3, and Future Redeemed. Future Redeemed was the end of this Cloud Saga. And it was a little bit uncertain whether we would get more Xenoblade eventually, but it looks like we're getting more Xenoblade. So what do I think this trademark means? Well, I don't think it means Xenoblade X. I think Xenoblade X could happen either way. I think we could get a definitive edition. Hell, I think we could get a definitive edition of Xenoblade 2. I really think 2 could use a definitive edition. But moving forward, obviously this means a new game is coming, but when could it come? Well, Xenoblade 2 came out in December 2017, and Xenoblade 3 came out in July 2022, so you can see a 4.5 year difference there, but they also developed Torna, Future Redeemed in between. Monolith Soft is known as a very, a studio that's efficient with the stuff they do, so I do feel like a new Xenoblade game could be around the corner. I feel like it's already in development. It's been in development. Future Redeemed was probably done by a smaller studio, even though it came out so quick. But yeah, what do I think this new Xenoblade game heads in terms of direction? Well, I feel like they're going to drop the Chronicles to avoid confusion, but they're going to keep the Xenoblade, because Xenoblade is good for brand recognition. You may look at Xenoblade games like, oh, they only sell like 2 to 3 million. Sometimes they surpass 3 million, like with Xenoblade 2. That's actually huge for JRPGs. Not like Persona 5, Dragon Quest 11 level, but like a step below that, like it's no slouch. Xenoblade could use the brand recognition. So considering that Xenoblade has been, a pretty nice success for Nintendo and Monolith Soft, I do feel like that this is the best outcome they can achieve when it comes to sales for their series, like 3 million. And that's no slouch, considering how quick they pump out games, etc. They're still making a pretty sizable profit, I'd imagine. So, I think they're going to call it Xenoblade, new subtitle. It's going to be Xenoblade something, Xenoblade Saga, Xenoblade Future, I don't know. It's going to be called something. And it's going to be a completely new cast of characters, a completely new saga. But it is also going to have maybe references to the old Xenoblade games, but in subtle places. Not to like the extent which Xenoblade 3 had references to Xenoblade 1 and 2, but, maybe there'll be a little Monado in a corner here and there. But for the most part, I feel like it's going to be disconnected from the Xenoblade universe, Xenoblade Chronicles universe, rather. It's going to be its own thing. It's going to be a new saga. It's not going to have much ties to the Klaus saga. And I feel like that's the best direction they can head, rather than having Xenoblade something else, or Xeno something else, rather. Because sometimes they don't always turn out. So, Xenogears, how great of a game it was, right? But it was a flop when it comes to sales. I wouldn't say a flop, but it didn't sell as expected. So, they had to scrap their 6-part plan for Xenogears. So that they wanted Xenogears to be a lot longer than it was, like multiple games, but they couldn't do it. Xenosaga also was supposed to be 6 parts, but it was truncated into 3. And due to poor sales, it was truncated into 3, right? And some episodes of Xenosaga suffered from that. There was some, questionable pacing. But they finally found their formula with Xenoblade. They have the Nintendo funding. They have a lot of sales coming from the games. Xenoblade 2 is the best-selling one. Xenoblade 3 is getting up there. So I think they got to stick with the Xenoblade name, call it Xenoblade Saga or whatever. Maybe a new gameplay style, although I doubt it. I think the Xenoblade gameplay style is pretty damn good. They could just iterate on that MMO kind of gameplay style. Maybe a new world, maybe it's that fantasy setting that they were hiring for. Maybe that's not like a massive multiplayer game. Maybe that's the next thing. Maybe that's Xenoblade something else, and maybe it's fantasy oriented instead of sci-fi oriented like Xenoblade. Although this is just mindless speculation at this point. As for release timing, I think we can expect the next Xenoblade game to be unveiled in 2025. And I think we can expect it to release in 2026 or 2027. If it comes out in 2027, probably be unveiled in 2026, right? Because I think they're going to have short release times like they did with Xenoblade, like they did with Xenoblade 2, Xenoblade Definitive Edition. So yeah, I feel like it's going to be Xenoblade Saga or something like that. Just say Saga, and it's going to be synchronized with Japan because Japan Xenoblade is actually just called Xenoblade. There's no Chronicles. I feel like it's synchronized at this time. And also, I feel like they could have a Xenoblade Chronicles export, or a Definitive Edition rather, between Xenoblade 3 and the next Xenoblade game. Like they had Xenoblade 1 Definitive Edition between Xenoblade 2 and 3. I feel like that's a really good course of action that they can head on. I'm very, very, very excited to see the future of Xenoblade. I've been a fan of Xenoblade since Xenoblade 2, really. But like I never finished 2 until I finished Definitive Edition. But I actually played Xenoblade 2 in 2018. But I really became a Xenoblade fan in 2020. It was really my first JRPG that I really got into. And Persona 5 was the game that just got me hooked on JRPGs. But yeah, nonetheless, I am very excited about the future of Xenoblade. And you should be too. Yeah, if you like this video, leave a like, subscribe, all that good stuff. That's about it. That's it.